Hi everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the dark reactions of photosynthesis. We already know that photosynthesis can be broken down into two main sets of reactions. The light-dependent reactions on the left side of this diagram, also known as the light reactions, which we talked about a couple days ago, and the light-independent reactions on the right side of this diagram, also known as the dark reactions, which we're going to be talking about today. Okay? We see by looking at this diagram that all of photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplast. Right? The light reactions occurred in the thylakoid, these little green stacks of membranes. However, the dark reactions occurs outside of the thylakoid, yet still inside the chloroplast in this empty space known as the stroma. So the location is going to be the stroma, and the purpose of the dark reaction is to take the energy from ATP and NADPH, which were created in the light reaction, and convert them into sugar, specifically glucose. Right? Now, if you know anything about the next steps in this process, during cellular respiration, the plant is eventually going to take these sugar molecules, this glucose, and convert it back into ATP when the cell needs to do work, and the cell actually needs energy because the cells run off of a molecule called ATP. So it begs the question, why are the dark reactions even necessary, right? If the light reaction makes ATP directly, right, why have the dark reaction to convert ATP into glucose just so that later glucose can be converted back into ATP when you actually need to do work? And the answer to that question is that ATP has one problem as an energy molecule, and that's that it cannot be stored. Right? If you don't use ATP within a few seconds, it's going to break down into ADP, which is that dead battery form of this molecule, within a few seconds no matter what. So you make sugars like glucose in order to store energy. Right? That way you don't have to use the ATP right away. So let's talk a little bit about the process. Right? The process of the dark reaction starts when the leaf absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere. Right? CO2 is able to enter the plant through these small openings on the underside of the leaf called stomata. At that point, what you're going to do is you're going to take the energy from NADPH and ATP, two high energy molecules that came from the light reaction, and use them to convert the carbon in glucose into sugars. Right, the carbon in carbon dioxide is what gets converted into sugars like glucose. Right? Now, ADP and NADPH, right, have no more energy left. All right. These are like your dead batteries, but like I mentioned before, when you have a dead battery, think of the battery in your iPhone or something like that, you don't just throw it away every time, your battery gets to 0% charge, right? As your iPhone, you simply just plug it back into the wall and recharge it, right? Here, these two dead batteries, ADP and NADPH, simply return to the light reaction to get re-energized with sunlight, converted back into ATP and NADPH. Let's talk a little bit about carbohydrates now, because carbohydrates is the end result of the dark reaction and photosynthesis in general. Alright? So, glucose, as I mentioned, is later used in cellular respiration, and it's broken down to make more ATP. One molecule of glucose has enough energy to recharge 36 molecules of ATP. Now, sometimes when plants have plenty of sunlight and plenty of water and plenty of carbon dioxide, they're able to make glucose much faster than they could possibly use it. Right? So now they actually want to store their glucose for really long-term energy. Right? What they'll do is they'll take the individual glucose molecules that we see here and connect them together in a really long chain, and that creates a molecule called starch. So starch is nothing more than a long chain of glucose, and it's used for really long-term energy storage. Think of a starchy vegetable like a potato. Right? A potato is actually like a swollen part of that plant's stem, right, that's hidden underground, and it's meant to store energy so that plant can survive like the winter without being able to photosynthesize and make more energy. Alright guys, that's it for today's lesson. Thanks for listening. Bye.